Sit back, relax, put your belt on, and enjoy the show.
On the main course this week, you got the Chiefs and the Western Force on a bye this week. So in Super Rugby AU, the first game is the Waratahs versus the Brumbies. Last time they met, the Brumbies won 61-10, 9 tries to 1. Returning this week, we expect that we're likely to see Tom Wright, their lethal winger, coming back in from his bone bruise to his knee. I'd suggest probably the bench given the form of the two wingers, but who knows? He is a Wallaby and an excellent Wallaby last year at that. Solomon Akato is apparently pretty close, and so is Bailey Kunzel as well. And Jake Gordon looks like he could be back for the Waratahs to try and carry his side again.
Yeah, well, what's your insight for this one, mate? Do you think the Brumbies win by 20, 30, and how they're going to do it?
Look, this one's going to be tough because I think with Jake Gordon coming back, if that's happening, that's a massive boost for the Tars. They need that leadership. They need just a 9 that knows how and when to run it, when to pass it, and can look for the players that will be strike weapons. Anyone other than Newsom, pretty much. So I think that's going to help them out a little bit. I'd probably still expect Brumbies. They're just so solid. They've got to come up with probably a 30-point win, but I am expecting Tars to come back pretty resounding from having no more Rob Penny as coach. I think that's going to be something that they really galvanise and try and fight back for, but it's just not going to be enough against this Brumbies side. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if these interim coaches, do they make changes or do they just keep going what's been going on? I think they've got a license to make changes if they want. We all know that what's been going on isn't working. I don't think Parisi is a 12. I think he's a 13. I'd love to see him in that 13 jersey. Lalakai Fogeti, I reckon, could cover 12, but if he's out injured, how does that centre pairing work? They have all right, in my mind, to, chuck Edmund or someone at 12 and do something a little different because, he's been pretty decent when he's come on. Or
This is your way of saying just don't put Tepai Moroa there again?
Just don't put Tepai Moroa there again. He's just going to get shown up by this centre pairing for the Brumbies, really. But Newsom, I don't want to see him shift, but more than likely we're going to see Newsom at that 13 jersey.
Yeah. I don't see how losing the coach galvanises this squad, to be honest with you. Watching them play, it's not a heart thing.
Nah.
It's a complete inability to keep up with the pace of the game thing. I don't know if it's fitness, if it's confusion in what the defensive play is, which is led by the coaches still there. Their attacking shapes that look all right, I must say, out of anything. But, man, I don't see where this team is going to galvanise from. They've got no basis to do it.
Yeah, I think the effort's really been there for them. It's those cohesion, little moments when, they've got to make the right decision to score that try. They'll do everything up to that point and then they'll bomb it. So I think, the experience, if there's a change, it's Jake Gordon coming in. It's not Rob Penny going out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Do we see HJH shift back to tight head, hopefully with Bell starting at loose head, but what do you think? How can the Tars do this? Do you think they've got much of a chance, or what part of the Brumbies, set up do they have to attack?
I think you've nailed all the points there with the changes you want to see. Like Bell and HAH have to be the props that are starting.
Yep.
Gordon, if he's healthy, of course, just raise him straight back in. If he can play 80 minutes, give it to him.
Yep.
The Fixation injury is obviously the big one because they looked really good, I thought, against the Reds and actually were able to keep the ball fairly well together as a combo and pretty drifting runs. If they've got to put Newsom into 13, at least Nwankanita-Wasi can come back into 14.
Yep.
I just realised I'm covering Cargi. Should I mispronounce Nwankanita-Wasi? Just for
please. As bad as you can.
So Nawana Willie. So he'll come back in. They've got, like we said at the start of the season, they've got good potential players. It's just they've got to get them in space. I think the whole game plan could hinge on Edmed at 12 and Parisi at 13, like you're sort of hinting at before, because you've got two playmakers in that axis position. They can get it to the players that are strike weapons, because Maddox is great in attack when he gets a chance, as is Nwankanita-Wasi, but they just haven't been given the chance. Yep. So, that's what I'd like to see. I think you've nailed all those positional changes for the Brumbies.
I honestly think Newsom will probably end up at 13 again.
Yeah, I think that's what we're most likely to see, but that's not what we want to see. This is a chance to actually, take a chance if you're a coach. Yeah. Don't keep pushing shoveling the same shit. What were you going to say about the Brumbies?
Brumbies, I was just going to mention that their tight five, I thought was going to be, or the front row particular, was going to be the issue last week. But, I mean, even with Slipper moving a tight head and some rookies, they still pushed back a pretty good full scrum. So it's really going to have to be Bell and HH at their best to try and hold this Brumbies side back. But look, I'd still be thinking that the Brumbies don't really have a observable weakness compared to this Tars team. It's really just going to have to come down to, Tizano not giving away penalties and, being that menacing player over the ball, because he's been really good at turning the ball over.
Yep.
And with no Brumbies regular 7 this week, that could be a real point of difference. If they can secure the ruck a bit better and the Brumbies aren't as dominant, then maybe they just get a bit more possession and even up the score a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Brumbies do with Brown out and, Cusack still likely absent as well. In terms of their options, I mean, how good would it be to have Miller in this group? But they don't really have that option. But yeah, look, they've got Rory Scott, who he's been nicknamed Poey because apparently his work ethic, how hard he is over the ball and just how hard he runs, there's a lot of similarities between him and Poey there, which is a huge call. But he's someone that we might see fill in. He came off the bench last week, but there's also Luke Reimer, who wore the 7 jerseys for the schoolboys. And
he's good.
He's got a lot of talk about how good he is.
He looks good. I like the looks of him.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see who they use to fill that void. Tom Wright, we already touched on him. I don't think we'll see him come straight back into that starting side. Those 2 wingers have been doing too well, but hopefully we get to see him come off the bench.
I think the interesting thing with him is that I think he's an out-and-out finisher in the likes of Andy Muirhead, whereas I think they're really growing Mac Hansen's role in this team the more he establishes himself. He seems to be coming in and he's the guy that's taking that second pass and actually trying to look for the long cutout or to try and create a little bit wider for the side. So, I actually think he's more likely to get more. I think they'll rotate them a little bit, but I think he's probably the guy that's establishing himself as the partner to Tom Wright.
Yeah. So you say drop Banks and put Hansen at fullback? I mean, he's a fullback.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care, to be honest. Go for it. Look, Banks is kicking for touch. It's just too good. Yeah. When you got a weapon like the Brumbies rolling more, you can't really take that away.
That's fair. How do you see this going, Mitch?
Look, I think Brumbies will still probably come ahead. I'd think by at least 30 points, which would be a lot better than the first game. I think Tars just need to really focus on those few key things. They probably know they're not going to win this one. The interim coaches were pretty much saying as much. They want to get at least 1 win with this season, and this was a bit of a write-off, but if they can, a 30-point loss is so much better than 51 points. And I think Brumbies could see this as a chance to tweak a few things. And one thing I'd love to see, it won't happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing Tucker move to 6, Samu move to 7, and Valentini at 8, or even Tucker at 8, just because the Wallaby squad that came out only has McWright as the genuine 7, and we know Samu's pretty good with ruck involvements, and he can play that loose role a little bit. So whether they see this as a chance to just test that, it'd be a big gamble and not really putting any of those players in their best position, but they don't have a lot to lose at the moment.
While we're throwing out wild hopes and speculations, why don't they throw Frost in at 6? He is a mobile 6 that works pretty hard. I'd love to see him have a crack at it. He's still young. He can adapt to that.
I mean, I've got 0 to say that he can play 6 other than 1 run in the under-20s. So,
no. I don't really care. Do it. They'll still beat us by 30.
So the line here is 21.5 points. I think the Brumbies are going to smash that, right? That is easy money. I'll be putting on a cheeky little bet on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to do it before I get home.
I'll put the house on it. That's good.
Yeah, seriously. So I'm going to go Tars to lose by 40.
Yeah, I'd love to be ambitious and think things are going to change. I mean, Jake Gordon maybe scores a try, and makes that small difference, but I still think it'll be mid-30s. I'll say 35. Gamble responsibly. Harry just threw lots of money on that.